and have a good day to Dr. Nasuha and my fellow friends. Today, me and my team are going to talk about production challenges that face in tea industry. First of all, we are from Group 1 and our group consists of 4 persons, which is me, Kam, Ronisha, one Fitria Hanani, as well as Muhammad Isham Mukris. Before we start the challenges, what is tea? Tea is actually used as a medical in ancient time and recreational drinks. Tea actually came from 3 plants that go through series of production such as plucking, withering, rolling, oxidizing, drying, as well as packaging. They also contain multiple types of tea in the market such as ginger tea, chamomile tea, and etc. The plantation of tea eventually began in 1929. In our country, tea production achieved up to 3.6 million kilograms. There are a total of 3 tea production companies, which is Bo Tea Plantation, Cameron Tea Plantation, as well as Gaharu Tea Valley. There are also various benefits for tea, such as antioxidant, help in weight loss, as well as reduce risk of heart disease. There are a total of 5 factors to decreasing of yield in tea production, which are diseases, climate change, shortage of labor force, post-harvest technique, as well as pest and rodent. The main reason of decreasing yield are caused by a disease named blister blight, which is a fungus infection in tea. What is blister blight? Blister blight is actually caused by a microorganism known as Exobacillium vexans, which is a type of fungus that have the life cycle of around 11 to 19 days and always attack the young leaf of the tea plants. Exobacillium vexans is actually a microorganism that attacks on young leaves and able to penetrate via stomata or direct penetration. And E. vexans eventually able to germinate within 24 hours. It able to weaken plant defense system with reduction of alkaloid. Blister blight spores is easily spread by wind force, and the spores able to survive on the leaf via dispersal, and this disease normally occurs in humid and wet weather. There are several symptoms that is able to observe, such as pinky spot and leaf necrosis. Okay, let's go to the cycle of blister blight disease. Blister blight disease usually start off with formation of tiny, thin or translucent spot. Then after several days, formation of blister will occur that might cause the concave depression on the leaf. After that, the blister will start to become brown and resulting in necrosis. Eventually will lead to necrotic leaf lesion. There are actually several tea leaf culture that dominant to the blister blight infection, such as tea plants usually planted very closely, and tea require low temperature, and during monsoon season the relative humidity in the air is higher and hard plucking that causes severe damage to the plant. Tea is usually planted in huge area and it might cause huge loss to the fungus infection affects the young leaves and buds of the tea plants. The farmer will encounter loss of our several shoots and buds, stunted tree growth, and due to the disease is highly contagious, it might require a long time to recover and causing death to the plant due to secondary infection. It causes loss and drop of economic threshold level around 40% and 35% drop in yield production. However, there are 3 solutions or methods to encounter this fungus infection. Start with cultural. Cultural ways such as pruning is the cutting of plants part, lane cutter and shade puder can be applied. For chemical practices, there are actually 2 common chemical substances that are used to control blister blast, such as copper oxychloride and nickel chloride. And application of chemical is varied among regions. For biological process on the other hand, there are several biological processes able to be taken to control blister blight infection, such as bioformulation of control agent, defense and shutter, systemic resistance, foliar application, transgenic technology and cultivar resistance able to be utilized to create a blister blight resistant variety of tea plants. Thank you. So next I'll pass it to Ronisha.
Hi, I'm Monisha Bala. My metric number is 056570. Recent studies have shown that climate change is having severe impacts on the production of the tea plant. The temperature was the main factor affecting the economic output of the tea plants. Climate changes often affect the quantity of the tea that farmers can grow. Although climate change affects each region differently, it influences the tea yield across the board by altering precipitation level, increasing temperature, shifting the timing of the seasons, and encouraging insect pests. Climate change is pushing rainfall to the extremes, leading to an overall decrease in precipitation, but with more drought and heavy rain. The intense rains cause erosion and waterlogging of the soil, which damages root development and reduces the yield of the tea plants. Heavy rain during the monsoon seasons has been shown to decrease the tea yield. Most of the tea produce regions are found in the south, where overall rainfall is increasing and heavy rain that can damage tea crops is becoming more frequent. Such climate changes are also influencing the appearance of insect pests. Higher temperatures enable insects that attack tea plants to survive winter, giving them more time in which to reproduce. Plantation managers have noticed a greater number of insect pests on the tea plants coming out when temperatures going up. Next, tea antioxidant content is affected by temperature and rainfall, where more rainfall increases the antioxidant level overall, even though level of certain antioxidant decrease. It also shows that the lower temperature changes in the compounds that potentially beneficial to the health indicates that the tea would lose some of its important health benefits. Next, there are several solutions to overcome the challenges caused by climate change. The extensive use of artificial environments such as the free air CO2 enrichment phase technology can help examine the magnitude of evaluate CO2 on the tea yield and quality at the level of the ecosystem. Next, invest in alternative breeding approaches such as mutation breeding for increased genetic variability. This should be followed by standardizing selection procedures that attempt to identify useful genotypes. Furthermore, the systems biology approach facilitates a multi-targeted approach for understanding complex molecular regulatory network associated with stress, adaptation, and tolerance. The approach can help overcome limitations associated with morphological, biochemical, and molecular adaptation of the plants towards stress. Tolerance to a combination of the different stress conditions, particularly those that mimic the field experiment, should be the focus of the future research programs aimed at developing improved varieties and tea plants with enhanced tolerance to naturally occurring environment conditions. Finally, the establishment of multi-stockholder cooperation aimed at developing sustainable adaptation strategies for the management of climate risk associated with climate change in the tea industry.
Another major challenge in tea plantation is labor shortage. The large tea plantation require intensive labor force to ensure the stability of yield production. According to the Malaysian Department of Statistics, output of green tea leaves has dropped slightly in 2012, about 16,139 compared with 19,872 tons 2 years prior. This situation occurs mainly due to the lack of manpower or labor force to manage the tea plantation in planting, controlling pest, disease and weed, and harvesting. All of this process need to be done by using manual method. If we compare with oil palm plantation, a single section of tea plantation need more worker compared to a section of oil palm estate. So, each section need to manage well by person in charge. Manual methods seems tiring because energy of labor is consumed in a long period during work time. Tiring work like this not really attract others to be laborers in plantation. Other than that, low salary provided for tea plantation worker also one of the issue that leads to lack of local people want to join this industry. The average wage for tea plantation workers range about 1,300 ringgit to 1,500 ringgit. From their point of view, the amount is not enough to cover their living expenses. As the time passed, the owner of the plantation come out with solutions to cope this kind of problem to keep the consistency of the industry. To overcome the shortage of labor, machinery is developed to aid the existence labor, especially in harvesting process. Despite of short in labor force, machinery to pick the tea leaves can help the laborers as well as be able to complete their work in a short time. Besides, the existing laborers should be trained to gain their skill and knowledge on how to improve yield production in tea plantation industry. Another solution is to hire foreign laborers to work in Malaysia tea plantation because they are willing to work in longer hours with low salary.
Now, I'm going to explain a problem related to post-harvest process, which is the low quality of the tea leaf itself. So, there are a few post-harvest process that need to be done after the tea leaves are being harvested from the tree. The first step is choosing raw material, the second step is filtering, third is rolling, fourth is fermentation, five is drying, six is sorting and trading, and the seventh one is storage and packaging. Depending on the type of tea that are going to be manufactured later. For example, black tea requires various processing steps such as filtering, rolling, fermentation, drying, and grading and packing. But for green tea, filtering and fermentation process are completely omitted, and you straight away going to be zero and dry. So the first step is choosing the correct raw material. For example, 2 to 3 leaf and the pulp is recommended as a raw material for processing black tea. Why? Because the chemical contribute to the quality content in the tender leaf are greater in proportion. Thus, there are few requirements that need to be followed. For example, 2 or 3 leaf and a pulp or single 2 leaf need to be 85%, emission should be 5% and cost leaf 10%. What happens if there are over 10% cost in the shoot composition? It will affect the chemical composition, the video process will become very slow, and the complete extraction of cost will be difficult. So the second step is withering. Physical withering basically is to remove the moisture content from the grain leaf and the condition of the leaf from turgid to elastic to facilitate better rolling. In addition to physical changes, there are also chemical changes that occur to get better quality withering. For example, protein are being hydrolyzed, caffeine content is optimized, and level of organic acid is being enhanced. So there are few quality surveillance that need to be strictly followed during the withering process. For example, the temperature of hot hair should be below 35 degrees Celsius, the use of ambient air when hygrometric difference is above 3 degrees Celsius, and to get even with the true should be loaded with 2 or 3 kg square feet of green leaf. And the well-ventilated loft and access of growing large volumes of air is very essential. Step number 3 is rolling. The primary objective of rolling is to crush the leaf into the small sizes. In addition, it also presses out the juice, and a thin film of juice is coated on the surface of the leaf particle to enhance the chemical changes. Thus, there are a few quality assurance that strictly need to be followed during the rolling process, such as the usage of green leaf shifter, the use of leaf shredder, and the usage of wall breaker. So, rolling process also use some machine. So, in order to maintain the zero defect in the quality of the tea, the following should be checked regularly. For example, the temperature of each, cut every 2 hours, the size and the style of the leaf, the moisture content, and the daily cleaning of the machine itself. So the step 4 is fermentation. The fermentation process is to bring out the chemical changes necessary to make a tea liquor palatable. It is also an oxidation process by which the rolled leaf loses its green color and acquires its copper color. It also results in the formation of aroma of the fermented leaf. There are a few errors that need to be prevented during the fermentation process, which is the cold current airflow arrangement. The air should be fresh and cool and saturated with moisture. The optimum temperature to be at least 25 to 37 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity of air should be around 95%. Next, the process is drying. Drying process arrests the fermentation and reduce the moisture content in the fermented tea from 55 to 65 moisture content to 2 or 3 moisture content. So there are a few key points that need to be followed to add the value to the quality. The first one is maintaining drying time and temperature. For example, the longer the drying time, it will detrimental the quality and the flavor of the tea. If the shorter the time, it results in thin liquor. If the temperature is very high, it will result in bitter tea. The next one is proper loading of dryer, because the overloading causes a back pressure and results in uneven drying. And the next one is maintaining exact inlet and exhaust temperature. So number 6 is sorting and grading. Sorting is to remove fiber from the bulk tea to separate the tea particle into various shapes and size relevant to the trade requirement. So sorting enhances the appearance and the quality of the liquor. It also flake of the costing in the primary grade can be separated to avoid the harshness. And number 7 is storage and packaging. The 3% moisture level is advisable when heated. It should be not stored at the open condition, and the use of bin storage for the finished product is very essential. Thank you. As for the conclusion, all those issues such as climate change and low quality of the tea leaf need to be solved in effective ways, as the loss from each process such as pest management, post-harvest will lead to a lower yield and low quality of the leaf product. And not to mention, the consumer value will drastically drop as it already lost the customer trust, and obviously it will cause a huge loss in the profit of the plantation itself. I think that's all from us. Thank you.